Well, if we wanted to, Jonathan Kahn, and that's who I'm speaking to this hour, if we wanted to, we could go back to the Great Depression, correct?
Yeah, If you look at the last three, the long-term greatest collapses, number three is the Great Recession, 2007 and 8 happens. That's the 2007 and 8 is the Shemitah. No, or actually, that's number two. Number three is 1937, 1938, second part of the Great Depression. 1937 and 38 is the year of the Shemitah. And by the way, the Shemitah begins in 1937. The next day, Wall Street collapses. And number one is the Great Depression. The key year of collapse of the Great Depression is 1930 and 31, and that is the year of the Shemitah. When the Shemitah reaches Elul 29 of 1931, it ushers in the greatest month collapse in world history. And not only is it that like the year, and we said the last two are been literally the minute and the second, but also the time of year, because there's one time of year that links to this, and that's the time of Elul and Tishri. Elul 29, the wipeout time, ushers in Tishri, which the second the sun goes down, that's the wipeout, and that ushers in Tishri. So Tishri would be the month that would manifest this wipeout. Well, the amazing thing is if you look at the greatest day crashes in history, they can happen any time of the year, any week, and statistically they should happen distributed over the year. Well, the amazing thing is the majority of the greatest day crashes, percentage-wise, happen all cluster around this one little time of the year, actually 2.5 weeks on the Hebrew calendar, the majority of them. And what time? It's the time of Tishri. And for years, financial analysts have been mystified. Why do all these great crashes tend to happen around September, October? Well, they can never come up with an answer, but that's the time of the remission that is appointed by God. So there's something going on that defies statistics.
I think this is so important. I'm a detail person. I know Jonathan is too, both from our private conversations and from reading the books and talking to him as we have through the years here. And, I don't know how we can avoid looking at this and saying there's something to this. We just can't. For the skeptic out there, I would just hope that you would, just for a minute, put away your skepticism and look at the bare bones facts that were just laid out, because those are just the date facts of what has taken place. If you look at just that, you have to think something might be just ahead that we need to be emotionally, physically, financially prepared for. Well, we don't know, but we see the pattern.
Yeah.
Even the financial gurus are talking about it. I've got quotes here from David Stockman, Larry Edelson, others. They're proclaiming, got a quote here, with evangelical fervor that the global economy has reached the end stage of a bubble, and that the financial economic bubble is about to burst, leading to what the financial gurus describe in superlative terms as a, quote, global financial crisis of epic proportion that will bring the leading economies of the world to their knees. That's not Jonathan Kahn or Eric Barger or Jan Markell. That's leading financial spokesmen who are being very bold about this, Jonathan.
Something happened with when I wrote The Mystery of the Shemitah that was different from the Harbinger, in that immediately this started appearing like within a day or two on Wall Street sites, some economic sites all over the web. They picked up, but then I found out I was contacted by literally people from the financial realm, and who didn't know, they didn't know anything about the Shemitah. But there are several of them. You can see online on the web, some of them who identify the 7-year cycle, but not just the 7-year cycle, but the 7-year cycle that specifically begins and ends with the biblical Shemitah, yet having no idea what the Shemitah was. And yet they came up with it independently. God puts his fingerprints, and basically what it's saying is with the Shemitah is simply, just like with the Sabbath, is that he's in charge of everything, and all our blessings come from God, and you cannot defy God, mock God, blaspheme God, and expect those blessings on the nation to continue. And the thing is that it's also another realm of this is that it actually can even be bigger, because, as we mentioned, in 586 BC, it wasn't just the financial realm that was wiped out. There's a link between this and the rise and fall of nations. If you look at the timing of the Shemitahs, not every one, but there's a certain cycle to it, that some of the greatest global cataclysms are geared to the Shemitah as well. From the First World War, Second World War, 9/11, as we know, 9/11 happens at the very climactic week of the Shemitah and triggers that collapse of Wall Street on the exact day. So the other question that we have to think about as well is, could this also signal a fall concerning history and world powers? America rose during the year of the Shemitah, and America became a superpower during another year of the Shemitah. Could this also be signaling a change change in the world, and I believe there's already been some signs of it, of what we may see as the end of the American age.
Right. I want to get into that, and we can do that here in the next segment, but I've got a quote from you, and I think from one of the messages I heard you give, Jonathan, and that is, what is meant for a blessing turns into a horrible curse if we are not following God's laws. And I think that's the essence of the message, correct?
Yeah, well, one of the things, Jen, is that, at the beginning, when America was founded by the Puritans, established for God, they said something that, and John Winthrop, very famous for City on the Hill, he said, if we follow God, we'll be the most blessed people on earth. Well, it's happened. But he said, if we turn away from God, the blessings that were there from Israel will turn into the same pattern of what happened to Israel, in a sense, he says, will happen to America. And that's what happens. You cannot be so blessed by God as America has been, and then turn against the very source of your blessing and expect the blessings to continue and not be withdrawn from the land. And I believe that's what we're seeing.
But people are saying, when you say that, you're saying America is Israel, and we've got to clarify that you are not saying that America is Israel.
What I'm saying is that the patterns of the Bible are consistent, and on top of it, and listen, any nation, I don't care what it is, any nation on earth that turns away from God is going to have the principle of curses on it. And any nation that has known God, all the more so, and has turned away from God and been blessed by God, is all the more going to deal with this principle that righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people.